What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball, and more importantly, welcome back to our season preview series. This is a series where I'm breaking down all 30 NBA teams before the start of the regular season, and now it's kind of the dead point in the basketball calendar. Well, maybe not after yesterday at the time of recording this. Some stuff finally happened, but for most people, they don't care about basketball right now. But if you're watching this video, it means you're probably a basketball sicko like me, and you're trying to get ready for the season. It's really not that far away, so you're trying to get up to date on everything that your favorite team is doing, all the other teams, and that's what I'm here to help you do today. In this video, we're going to be tackling the Golden State Warriors, a team that basically had their entire offseason kind of finalized in one day yesterday. They've been prepping for it, and the Kuminga stuff is over. Yay, yay. You guys are seeing this on a Friday, but it just happened about maybe 8-9 hours ago, something like that for me, so just know that that's kind of the case as far as timing with all of this. But in this video, we're going to go over an intro where we talk about what the team looked like last year, set some goals going forward, talk about what their offseason looked like. It was something, wasn't it? We'll do a complete roster and salary cap draft asset breakdown. We'll go through some trade ideas, rotational lineup ideas, and finish out with a standings prediction at the very end of the video. But before I get into all that, make sure that you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment on my YouTube channel up to this point, and I intend to keep on doing so. As always, go show these videos some love because they're never going to get the most attention because it is during a down point in the year. I want to keep you guys hooked up during the dead point of the basketball season because I care about basketball right now. We did finally have a video start to perform kind of well. Surprise, surprise, it's one with Wemby on the thumbnail of it. Yeah, that would be the one that does better. But anyway, no, I appreciate you guys as always. Let's go talk about the Warriors. And that brings us back to our season preview spreadsheet. For those of you new to the channel, I like to build these spreadsheets to kind of help articulate and visualize the stories I'm trying to tell here on my YouTube channel. And you can actually get access to this spreadsheet if you want. It's really simple. Just go down into the description of this video. You'll see a link to join my Discord. It's completely free. Hop on there, go to the announcements channel, and there's a download link there for you guys to download the spreadsheet. And I try to keep it updated all the time, so just go back whenever you need a more up-to-date copy of kind of what's going on with it. But anyway, the Warriors, that is enough fucking marketing for today. Alrighty, yeah, I know they've been in the news a lot recently. It's been a summer. It's been a summer. The whole Kuminga stuff happened, but let's take a step back. Talk about what happened last year. Last year, we were looking at the Golden State Warriors roster, and we were like, oh boy, Klay Thompson's gone now. It's Steph, Draymond, and yeah, that's about it, right? You got other solid players on the team, but we're struggling at kind of this center position. It's not looking like we maybe have an option even there. The depth doesn't look good. When I did the season preview series last year, I was like, I'm not sure the Warriors make the play-in, man. I'm not sure they're looking very good, and they did not look good for a good chunk of the season. And then the Jimmy Butler trade happens after trying to go back and get Kevin Durant and him saying no, which was a whole, like, I don't think that was a big deal. I kind of understand why that was the case, but they end up getting Jimmy Butler on a really, really good deal, in my opinion, and I was like, oh shit, here it goes. All the people that were saying before, like, Jimmy Butler's dead, they don't, like, he's not that good at this anymore, yada, 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 yada. I'm like, have you guys not read this book before? We've all seen what happens. Jimmy Butler, as soon as he wants out, man, like, he's gonna go and light it up for the next team, and that is exactly what he did. He became a crucial part to this team, really pushed them forward into the playoffs, and he was a phenomenal addition, man. He really, really was. The other interesting thing was this team somewhat found a center, not like a great center solution, but one kind of out of nowhere in Mr. Quentin Post, who ended up being a pretty valuable guy for them down the season. And now, looking forward, this team's got a more put-together roster than it did coming into the season last year. And so we look at this team, and we go, okay, this team is obviously a contender, right? Just for reference, 48-34 last year. After not being a very good team, they really started to dominate in the back half of the season, which was awesome to see. But I've got this team as a contender. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. If you're new to this series, basically 5 different categories you can fall into as a NBA franchise. You got the selling teams. Those are teams actively trying to, like, blow up and reset everything. You have the rebuilding teams. Those are teams trying to find those couple of young pieces to start to build their franchise around. You've got the growing teams. Those are teams that have found those couple young guys. They're kind of waiting for them to grow up and mature. You're trying to put the right coaches and players around them for a better future. Contending teams trying to actively win a championship right now. The Warriors definitely kind of fall into that category. They've been contending outside of a few gap years since what, like 2014 at this point. Then you got the who the fuck knows category, because there's always a couple teams that they don't know where they should even be and they're not quite sure what they're doing. You never want to be in this category. You'd rather be in one of these four, because there's at least a flow and a direction between these four. This one, no, you don't want to be there. But the Warriors, definitely a contending team. So what goals do we have for this year? I've got a couple, as always. The first one, trade Jonathan Kuminga. I talked about it in the video that you guys would have seen on, what day was it yesterday? Tuesday. Look, your boy's doing a lot of like travel for his business and everything right now. So he is in and out of his apartment like at all times. And I pre-record all of these videos or whatever. So just know I'm all over the place as far as my timing. I talked about it in the video. I think the Kuminga thing, it's not the worst outcome that you could possibly have. I think the worst case scenario would have been he just takes the qualifying offer. But I don't think having Kuminga on this team is going to be beneficial in terms of like winning and losing basketball games. And here's the reason why. I think the talent's there, right? The talent's very much there, but it doesn't seem like the Warriors are going to budge on their, like, this is how we play basketball. You have to play basketball exactly this way. It doesn't fit a Jonathan Kuminga, and he doesn't seem to be picking up the other style either, right? So it seems like a movable object type of situation. So I don't know. I don't have anything to tell me that it's going to be better this season. And look, the Warriors gave him a contract that is more tradable now and maybe more digestible to other teams. Will the demand for Kuminga necessarily change? I don't know. It's hard for me to say as of right now. Like, we're just going to have to kind of wait and see what happens throughout the year. But I don't see a reason why you should have him on this team at this point. Let's see if we can't get something out of him, because you can't trade him till like mid-December anyway. But for the time being, like, you should keep your ears open and see if we can't turn him into a player that's maybe going to be a little bit more beneficial to what we're trying to do on this team. Next thing, find ball handlers, because as of right now, you have a lot of like pseudo ball handlers, and yes, Steph Curry is your point guard, but even Steph Curry, like, he usually lets like other people kind of create for him. We all know that he's like running around the screens, and like that's creating for yourself in another way by doing that. Nobody really works harder to get their shots than like Steph Curry does, but we could use some more like primary ball handlers on this team, because like you got Draymond, you got Jimmy, like Pods can do a little bit of it. Like maybe Melton will be able to do some. We're not sure how he is like post-injury at this point. Yes, Steph can do a little bit of it, but it's like, okay, like even Horford, if you want to run some hub stuff through him, you could probably do that. But I think we need to find like some more natural creators for this team to try to add. So I think that's kind of another gap in the roster. Another kind of gap in the roster is it'd be nice if we could add a true rim protector to this team. Maybe that'll be Quentin Post at some point this year. And like Trace Jackson Davis isn't bad. I wouldn't call him good at it either, but we've all seen like Steph and Jimmy and Dre, they play good when they've got somebody that can just be at the dunker spot, be a lob threat, be someone above the rim, and I think this defense could go a long way if they had a true rim protector on the team. So I don't worry about this team like X's and O's wise very much. I think they're going to be fine there. It's literally just a matter of getting those last couple pieces in place, right? Because it's great that they filled out the roster and they don't have a lot of flexibility, but we're missing a couple key roles as well. So that's some of the stuff that we'll talk about in this video. Just keep these goals in mind as we move throughout the rest of the video, because it'll be relevant. But with all that being said, let's go talk about what their offseason looked like. All right, the offseason tab. As always, we break up the offseason into 3 different sections here. You have drafted players. Players that you drafted this last year that are going to be on the full-time roster. Player departures, guys that were on the full-time roster at the end of last season that will not be on the full-time roster at the beginning of this season. That's an important distinction for a couple of these guys or whatever. Players brought in, new guys joining the team this year. Players that you brought in either via free agency or trades or whatever that are going to be on the full-time roster this year. Let's start off with drafted players. If you guys were curious, AVC, like, what do you do for a living? I run a basketball analytics and consulting company. One of the main services that I do is I go out and I scout and recruit players, recruit at the college level, scout at the NBA level. And for the past couple seasons, NBA teams have employed me to be a scout for them and evaluate like draft prospects and stuff. And so if you want to go see information on any of the draft prospects, I have a playlist here that did very well. I don't even make money off it because they all got demonetized, but it's a fun series for you guys to go explore if you're curious. I'll be honest with you, Will Richard, later draft pick. I was never asked to cover Will Richard. He's not a guy that appeared on like my draft board or anything. Yes, I watched like some film of him. 6'5" guard, not necessarily a guard, like like guard wing is kind of what I would describe him as. Like solid athlete, had solid shooting numbers. I don't know. There's nothing that really like jumps off the page for me. And yes, he's a late second round pick. Like, what do you expect? But the reason that he's going to be on the full-time roster is because the Warriors can use him and give him that second round pick that's really, really cheap, 4-year contract that you can get out of at a bunch of different points as a way to kind of fill out the back end of the roster. Makes perfect sense to me. The other guy that they drafted, Tui or whatever out of Australia, he's on a 2-way contract. So I don't have a strong opinion on Will Richard. I really don't, and I'm not gonna like bullshit you and say like, oh, this is what I really hard think of him, because I just don't have that opinion. And he's mostly just on the roster at this point as like a number. So there you go. That's what you have with him. Player departures. Let's start out with Kevon Looney, longtime center for this team. Last season, Kevon Looney was kind of falling out of the rotation. Yes, he's a very smart player, still very competent defensively. He'll fight for some rebounds and shit like that, but it was definitely starting to fall to the wayside a little bit. And New Orleans paid him an odd amount of money to come there, honestly, so there was nothing you could really do to stop yourself from losing him. And I think the center rotation you have is better than just having Looney at this point, so I'm not tripping about that at all. Pat Spencer, technically still on the team. He's on a 2-way contract now. Rookie last season, right? It's so hard to remember at this point. Pat Spencer actually had some interesting moments in the playoffs for them because they were so desperate for other ball handlers on the team last year, which, again, a little bit concerned that the Warriors didn't address that still. But Pat Spencer will be on a 2-way with the team instead this year. There's not a particular part of his game that intrigues me like all that much, but there he is. Kevin Knox, again, very small sample size for how much he played last year. Former lottery pick. That's a good athlete, got some good size on him, but hasn't really shown he can contribute at an NBA level. And Braxton Key, technically on the full-time roster at the end of last season. Extremely small sample size, nothing you can really take away from his game right now. So nothing of extreme loss here in terms of your roster. And then as far as the players brought in, hey, Al Horford's on the team now. That's exciting. What do we want to say about Al Horford? There's not a particular part of his game that really stands out at this point. He's not an elite shooter. He's a fine shooter. Is he like an elite playmaker? No, but he's solid at it. Is he even that great at a lot of the big men things like blocking shots or getting rebounds? No, not necessarily, but he's an extremely smart player that's been around the block. He doesn't make a ton of mistakes, right? He's size, which you know you needed, and he can step out and hit a shot, which is nice. In the playoffs, he probably will step it up a gear than what he will in the regular season, because that's just at what stage of his career he's in at this point. So it's a really, really nice addition to have to the team. I think he's going to fit in really well with their offense. Like, team fit matters so much for this team, right? We all saw the Dennis Schroeder thing last year where they brought in Dennis Schroeder, who's a really good player, and Dennis Schroeder is like, what the fuck's going on here? I can't make this work. Like, this is not how I play basketball. And then as soon as he left again, he got good again, right? I think Al Horford will fit in this system really well. It requires a lot of we'll say premeditated kind of reads and then reacting to certain things on the court, because they're going to run their system, right? They're going to do what they do because they have Steph Curry and it benefits him the most. That makes sense. Jimmy Butler fit into it really well. Draymond Green fits into it well. Quentin Post fit into it well, right? Buddy Hield probably should fit into it better. Like, all those guys are great. I think Al Horford's going to fit it as well, so I'm excited to see him on the team. D'Anthony Melton, you guys remember him in like the 6 games he played for you last year, right? D'Anthony Melton played, like I said, 6 games. He was very solid through 6 games for you guys, and then he was out for the season. You traded him to Brooklyn, and then at the end of the season, he left, and now he's back. So there you go. He's back. Maybe you'll get what you got out of 6 games from him, but I don't know. D'Anthony Melton has at least been like a competent 3-point shooter over his career, like has played some point guard in his career, but also not quite logically a point guard, so I don't know. It's kind of hard to say what you're going to get out of him. And then Seth Curry. The Curry brothers are back together. Look, why not, right? He's an elite shooter at this point. I think he shot something like 45% from 3 on like pretty solid attempts last year. So there you go, right? It's another Curry. You can't really complain about that. You know what you're going to get with him in the game. It's not going to be anything but shooting threes. That's about it, and he can do that. So there you go. 2 Currys on the team. That's a lot of fun. We love that. So looking at the offseason overall, right? And obviously there's other people to talk about in terms of the offseason, like Jonathan Kuminga, Gary Payton, all of those guys, right? But we'll talk, they're just still on the roster, so we'll talk about it in kind of the next section, if you will. But overall, draft, meh, you had 2nd round picks. There was only so much you could do with it. Player departures, Nothing of extreme importance here. Players brought in. I like Horford. I like Melton. I like Curry. I think these are good pickups overall. So I think you had a good offseason for the most part in terms of the players you lost versus the players you gained. Yes, do I think the Kuminga situation could have gone maybe better for you? Potentially, but we are where we are at this point. So overall, I think it's a fine offseason, even though it all happened in like one day recently. But anyway, let's go break down the rest of the roster. The roster breakdown tab. If you've been on my channel for any amount of time, you definitely recognize this tab. We bring this one up in a lot of different series, and basically one of the reasons I like it a lot is it shows kind of this all-encompassing view of an NBA team, like all in kind of one place. Like you got the roster breakdown with some salaries and stats to go along with it, which is awesome. You got the team salary cap situation here. You got some draft picks, and the thing that people never ever get upset about in the comments, the depth chart that AVC puts together. And nobody will go, AVC, I can't believe you have Buddy Hield in front of pods. Oh my god, I fucking love pods. I'm like, hey, why don't you eat a Tide Pod, bitch? Yeah, that's what I got to say to you, fucking Billy. But anyway, one quick disclaimer. At the time of recording this, we're not like positive on exact numbers for some of these guys yet. So like the Al Horfords, the Kumingas, I'm pretty sure the Kuminga deal is like set or whatever. And like the Al Horford one like should be pretty accurate. Some of the other ones are like solid estimates by me, but you know, I'm just taking it as it goes, right? But anyway, let's start off with the roster breakdown here. If you're new to the series, AVC, what are these numbers right here? These are estimated plus minus numbers. We call them EPM. Basically, EPM is a really, really advanced statistic that we have in basketball that tells you how good somebody is at offense, defense, and then just overall as a basketball player. I then take those numbers and like normalize them or index them so you can have the 0 to 100 score comparing them against everyone else in the NBA. It's important for me to note, it's funny, I saw some, like, I've seen people, like, tweet about this, and I'm talking, like, multiple people. It's always interesting when people, like, tweet at me, which is kind of funny, of people being like, look at this number that AVC pulled out on his channel. He knows what the fuck he's talking about. Don't just look at numbers and presume that that's my opinion on people. Please. Do not. That's not what I say. As the person that owns a basketball statistics company, a stat never tells the complete story. It just doesn't. Okay? There is a lot of nuance and context that stats can't capture that I think it's important for all of us to look at a number and be critical about it, right? Because Jimmy Butler being 96th percentile offensively, it's like, okay, why is that? Is he just like the 96th percentile best offensive player? Is it because of other context things? I think Jimmy Butler's just actually that good, but it's important to have good critical thinking when we take a look at these things. Otherwise, we're missing so much in the actual story, right? So just be a good critical thinker with things. Anyway, Steph Curry. I don't need to explain Steph Curry to you, right? Still one of the best players that we have in the NBA, right? No questions about that. Yes, defensively, yes, I understand his number is a bit lower. That's how it has always been. The Warriors run what is called a bump-off defense. They are actually the ones that kind of invented it. And basically what that means is they're really, really good at hiding Steph Curry on defense because Steph Curry is a very smart defensive player. Like, he plays his passing lanes well. He knows where to rotate at all times. That's very helpful. Knowing where you're supposed to be is a big part of defense. And basically, when he gets like switched on to other people, guys like Draymond Green or Jimmy Butler or Moses Moody know to be looking for Steph and who he gets switched on to, and they know once they get to certain points on the basketball court to basically bump with him and switch. So that way Curry is always being hidden, like back in the crowd, because yes, he's a smaller guy that is not extremely athletic. He's going to be limited defensively, and he has to do a lot for this team offensively. So it takes a lot of strategy, man, to play on both sides of the court for this team. It is incredibly difficult. Nobody else does what this team does on offense and defense. So it's incredibly difficult. All the credit in the world to Curry. He's phenomenal. Jimmy Butler. Yeah. Added him last year. Jimmy Butler, usually known for being one of the better like defenders in the NBA. Those numbers were a little bit more down last year, but when he got into the playoffs, those numbers tended to jump back up, right? He's at that point in his career, but offensively is where he thrived. Yes, you can take a look at it like his three-point shot and like some of his efficiencies and be like, oh, AVC like wasn't all that great, but where he was really thriving was a playmaker, right? He was moving the ball like crazy, and he was not making any mistakes with it. It was incredible what he was out there doing. Like it's literally like top tier what he was doing in terms of like creating for others, getting people opportunities. Yes, he's still hitting clutch shots and everything. He fit into the offense perfectly. He's still Jimmy G buckets. The G stands for gets. I just love rooting for Jimmy Butler still as a Bulls fan. Honestly, I'm rooting for former Bulls players more than I'm rooting for my own Bulls team at this point. So Jimmy Butler, awesome add to this team last year. I can't wait to see him with a full season under his belt. Draymond Green still does Draymond Green things. Still one of the best defensive players we have in the NBA. He's one of the best at running this bump off stuff with Steph Curry. Still a great playmaker. Still a nice hub. He turned the ball over quite a bit last year, honestly, but the team was kind of such a mess, and they had people that were kind of fucking up their stuff all the time anyway last year. So I give him a little bit of credit there. And yes, it'd be great if he could be more efficient on offense. Not everybody's perfect at basketball. Like, you're not very smart if you're coming in here and saying, like, oh, did you guys know Draymond Green's not the most efficient at, like, offense or whatever? You know he's not a very good three-point shooter. And I'm like, yeah, no fucking shit, dude. Not all of us can be LeBron. Like, it's crazy, right? But anyway, Draymond's still doing Draymond things. We love that. Jonathan Kuminga, he is back. He is back. And again, he's a talking point for this team. Is he going to be flipped at some point? I'm sure they're going to try their damnedest to, because it just doesn't seem like it benefits either side to have him on the roster, right? It's not good for his development because he does not fit in the system, and it's fine because there's been so many other people to not fit in the system. Because I'll see some people being like, he just needs to like shut up and like learn how to do it, and I just don't agree necessarily with that. Like, yes, that'd be great to help your team and do that, but I've talked to so many people that have played for this team, man, and I'm talking like actual players, and they're like, dude, it's really hard to play for this team. Like, you come in with a certain skill set, and they're like, no, you have to do this exactly. That's it. And that's really hard for players, man. You got to be a specific player to fit here, and Kuminga just evidently doesn't. The young player development has not been good for Golden State, and mind you, this is an elite franchise, right? Because they've won the championships. Like, they've shown that they can do it. But apparently being flexible with their game plan is not one of those things. So Kuminga being a guy that he's one of the few guys on the team that generates like all of his own offense, because he doesn't know where to be when he doesn't have the ball, and he's basically just going to try to get to the rim, and he's pretty damn good at getting to the rim too, because he's a great athlete. He's got a decent handle on himself, like incredible athlete, right? Like, we all understand that stuff. It's just, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. He's messing up the flow of things, and he should probably go elsewhere for his own development as well as the team's just success. Moses Moody, another guy that hasn't really gotten the chance to develop all that much, and from my understanding doesn't necessarily want to be on the team either, but, you know, is what it is. Overall, good defensive player, bit of an undersized like wing forward is what I would describe Moses Moody as. He's hitting his three-point shot, which is great. That was really awesome, and that's kind of all he's doing. 3-and-D wing, which is cool. You need guys like that on the team. He's on a pretty fair contract. There you go. Buddy Hield. I couldn't comprehend what Steve Kerr was doing with Buddy Hield last year. In theory, Buddy Hield is in the perfect place for his success at this point, right? And Buddy Hield had some really good moments for the team last year, don't get me wrong, but he also had points where he was just like not in the lineup, and I can't comprehend that because this team was not that good last year. It was not that deep, and Buddy Hield should be one of your kind of premier scorers on this team. Now, it's important to note, we talk about this a lot on the channel, there's kind of two different types of like shooters out there. There's just like normal shooters that, hey, if you get them a shot like every 10 minutes, they're gonna hit their same percentage. And then we have what we call microwave shooters. I used to use Tim Hardaway Jr. as an example for this a lot, to explain to people why he wasn't being successful in Dallas. Buddy Hield is also a microwave scorer. You need to get him like predetermined shots early in the game, because here's the thing, if he knows he's going to get some shots and he can get the first couple up in the game, he can try to find his flow. When the guys like this find their flow early in the game, they're getting 20 points. That's just how it is. You're not going to be able to stop them. They're going to heat up and they're going to go. But if they don't get something going in the first couple like shots of the game, typically things aren't going to go well for them and they kind of fall out of that flow. So you need to get constant reps for guys like this. And that's something I didn't see Golden State doing a great job of last year. So my advice, please get him some shots early on in the game, like run some plays for him, like all the plays that you guys know work, right? Just have him do that, running around all those floppy actions and those pin downs and those little cluster sets or whatever. Just keep running all of those, let him pop out, get a couple threes up early, and you'll find out if you should keep playing him throughout the game. It's really that simple. So we like Buddy Hield on this team. Just think he needs to be utilized a little bit better. Already talked about Al Horford. Brandon Podziemski. I never know exactly how to say motherfuckers' names. Again, one of the few pseudo kind of ball handlers on the team. A guy that I'm surprised has been as solid as he was. He had a very up and down like offensive season last year. Like at the beginning of the year, motherfucker couldn't hit a shot, and then things got good again, and then it got really bad again. And I remember it got pretty good going into the playoffs, and then he was ass in the playoffs again, just shooting wise. But again, Steph was was out, so he had to be more of a creator. I can kind of write that off, right? The context is important. Defensively, he's awesome. He's a very good defensive player. That's awesome. It's nice to have a defensive guard like that, especially when you have a Curry and a Buddy Hield out there as well. He's a very nice kind of complement piece to them overall. His shooting was at an above average rate, which is nice. It's just we got to get some consistency. But again, it's only his third season. You got to give him some time, right? He's still a younger guy as well. So we hope that we just get a little bit more consistent offensive player out of Pods this year. Then he's going to be really valuable. So there you go. Already talked about Melton and Steph Curry. Guy Santos, one of the few wings with size kind of on this team, only about actually 6'6", but you know, it's not bad. Santos, not a huge like sample size, not even on a guaranteed contract or whatever last season, doesn't have a great like offensive game to him. If you went and deep dived, I'm sure his like rim numbers are actually pretty solid because he's probably only going there when he has like wide open shots. I'm actually going to confirm that number in a second, but I want to finish my thought. But there's not a consistent way that he's really finding a way to score outside of like some transition opportunities and probably some open layups and just shooting some threes. Even those like aren't falling at like a great rate or whatever. So what is he out there for? He works his ass off defensively, and I love how much he crashes the glass, man. He's you can tell the type of guy that is fighting to stay in the NBA because he goes in and gets a fuck ton of offensive rebounds. Let's confirm the stats. Where is Guy Santos? Let's open him up here. Let's take a look. Yeah, 3-point shot, not anything to write home about. Rim percentage is pretty good. There's that offensive rebounding number AVC was talking about. Turnover percentage is a little too high, too. If we take a look at attempts, yeah, he's not at the rim too much. It's actually more than I would have thought that it is. And honestly, the 3-point number is lower than I would have thought it is. So that's why it's good to check your math every once in a while. AVC stand corrected slightly. The perception is correct. It's just in my head it was weighted a little bit differently. So I don't know. Good to check those things. Trace Jackson Davis, the guy that a lot of Warriors fans presumed would be their savior, but really AVC was trying to tell you the whole season, his whole rookie season. I'm like, no. People are not guarding him nor boxing him out because they don't give a fuck about him. I don't think you guys realize, like, no-name kind of dudes, people really don't give a fuck about them in the NBA. They're like, hey, we're just going to go guard the people we know can do things. So yeah, he got a couple more opportunities to do some things. And then people are like, okay, we should probably box this guy out a little bit more. He is trying to go out there and do some things. And Trace Jackson Davis didn't have a super productive season, but he is one of the more true bigs on the team. Like, he will fight a little bit more for the rebounds and like blocking shots. A little bit maybe undersized for what you'd want in an ideal player at that spot. But overall, I think he's a good reserve big to have on this team. Not going to do anything but roll to the rim and dunk the ball, though. That's kind of his stuff. Quentin Post. All right. I love talking about Quentin Post. We already kind of talked about Will Richard. So last one in Quentin Post. He's an exciting one. So when I covered the draft last year, I said, hey, this is a pretty bad draft class, right? Just being honest with you guys, I'm pretty brutally honest with my draft evaluations. If you've been around, you've seen it, or you just have watched my videos. I went into that draft saying, like, look, I just don't see that many good players, man. Like, I really don't. I don't see any even star-level players versus, like, this year's class. I'm like, ooh, wow, there's a lot of good players here. Very exciting. One of the things that we actually do when we work for teams is we fill out a big board. We rank. They'll ask us to rank like, hey, 60, 70 players that we think are interesting. Kind of put them in an order as to which ones you just like. AVC is not always good at following directions, and he will say, hey, I don't even see 60 like draftable players in this class, so I'm not even going to do that. And when I filled out my big board last year, like Quentin Post, I believe was like the last, if not second to last person on my board, which only had about like 30-ish, 40 players. And some people were like, oh, really, Quentin Post, huh? And I'm like, yeah, like, here's my thing. I think it's going to be really hard for him to find a fit. He's kind of a unique play style for, like, his size and his abilities or whatever. I'm like, but I think in the right system, like, this could actually work. And so the Warriors took him, and lo and behold, his smarts translated there. So there you go. AVC was kind of right about that one. Let's go. That's one on the chalkboard for AVC. Gets one every once in a while. But big man that can shoot the shit out of the three, right? He was really hitting it last year, which is awesome. Offensively, he knows how to read the offense really well. He makes good passes. That's all great. Big man stuff. Not very good at doing big man stuff yet. Not a great rebounder. Not a great defensive player. Got to work on that, right? And that's fine. Going into our second season, totally fine. I think that Post should have a big role this year. Honestly, I would start him with the other guys just because I think it's going to be more important to get a little bit more mobility in the starting five, but that's just me. It sounds like they're going to start Horford, which whatever. I think that that's more than fine as well. I don't think that's a bad thing. And look, it's just one lineup in the game, right? But overall, we like Quentin Post. I think it's good. Let's talk about the depth chart. Big man wise, I think it's fine. Like, I think it's more than fine. I think you've got some options, which is good. This team hasn't had options at the big man spot in a while, right? I think Horford does a lot of solid things. Like, Post does a lot of solid things. Jackson Davis does some solid things. I still think it'd be nice if we got a true, like, rim defender, kind of lob threat big guy, especially because, like, Horford has played next to other big men before. So I'd like to add a guy like that to the team if possible. When we look at the forward spot, Dre, Jimmy, Moses, all fine options, right? Kuminga, we're going to see what he's going to do out there. You know he's going to be playing for his contract, so he might do even more iso ball shit than he was doing before. Looking at guards, I think it's fine. You got some shooting, at least between Buddy, Pods, obviously Steph. Melton has been a good shooter throughout his career. Again, I think we need more like primary ball handlers per se, because again, Steph isn't even always a primary ball handler. He certainly can. Like, there's no doubt about that he can. But I mean, just take a look at like Steph Curry's numbers or whatever. Let's go pull him up here. Take a look at his shooting. And even here for like a point guard, like he's getting 60% of his shots assisted to him, 70% of his 3-pointers, which is like low overall, but for someone that's that good, you'd expect it to be a lot lower. Like if you compared that to a Trae Young's generating like all of his own 3-point looks. So just some context for you guys there. But overall, good roster. This is a good basketball team. Numbers look really good on all of these guys. Obviously, a couple like defensive gaps here and there, but overall, this is a very well constructed basketball team. If we take a look at the salary cap situation, this is an important one. And again, these numbers might be slightly off by the time you guys are seeing this and more details come out, but this is what we got right now. Let's do a quick rundown of kind of the 4 levels of the salary cap, and then we'll talk about implications. First level, right here, is the cap line itself. This team is over that line. That's why this number is at a 0. Basically, once you cross that, you can only sign your own players to anything more than a minimum contract. There are exceptions to those rules, and those exceptions cap you at different levels than you otherwise would be, and those will come into play today. The luxury tax line, that's the scary one. Once you cross this one, which this team has, that's why it's at a 0, your team gets way more expensive to operate, and every consecutive year that you spend over that cap, it gets more and more expensive via like compound interest, until the point where you become the Celtics and you have to pop, right? And you have to sell off people just to avoid that tax, because you can't operate as a business. Then we have the aprons. If you want to see all the implications of the aprons, pause the video because I've got them up on the screen here and you can just read them. But know that these are newer things that the NBA has added to basically stop star players from being traded quite as much, bring a little bit more balance to the league. And the deeper you go into it, the less you're kind of able to do with your roster. You can't trade certain picks anymore. You can't trade players like this. You can't put players together to equal this amount of money. You can't use these exceptions anymore, yada, yada, yada. If you end up becoming an apron team, you better be very happy with your roster because not much you can do with it afterwards. Now, this team, because of the Jonathan Kuminga situation, there was a couple different ways that this team could end up signing guys like Al Horford, because Al Horford was coming from a different team. They were already over the cap, so they couldn't give him anything more than a minimum contract. But there are exceptions that they can use. They used a particular exception that caps them at the second apron. So this team cannot cross this line like other teams can because they use certain exceptions to go and give Al Horford a decent amount of money this year. About this much money is kind of my presumption by it. So this team is about $2.5-ish million away from where their hard cap is this season. Other teams can go into here, the Warriors cannot. So every deal that this team makes is going to have to kind of keep this in mind right here. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind as we kind of do trades and other things, or as you just kind of remember different trade rumors that go on throughout the season, right? But anyway, Warriors, it makes sense for them to be an apron team. They're trying to contend. You're trying to do what you can for Steph Curry. And by the way, I hope it's clear. Like, I think this team should be doing whatever it can to be as competitive as possible until Steph Curry is inevitably retired and gone, because you owe him that much. He has done everything for this team, and you should, because he's still a really good player and he can still win you a championship. Draft picks. This team doesn't have a ton to work with, but it does have some options, which is good. It has some first round picks that it can throw into deals if necessary. They got a couple second round picks here and there, which is good. You might get some stuff for Jonathan Kuminga. I don't know that for sure because it's, and we'll talk about it in the draft portion of the video, but we just don't know what demand is going to look like. And so overall, not in a bad situation. It's just maybe we wish we had a couple more seconds that we could flip into other things, but overall, it's fine for a contending team. Okay. With all that being said, we want to move on to the trade portion of the video. We want to try to see if we can add another ball handler that'll fit the offense, right? Maybe try to find a run, jump, and dunk big, and we'll talk about Jonathan Kuminga stuff. So let's move on to the trade portion of the video. And that brings us back here to Fanspo. Fanspo, for those of you that don't know, really cool website where you can do a bunch of like mock trades, mock drafts, all this other fun stuff within the basketball kind of community. It's a great website. We love it. Here's the problem. The website's free, and in my mind, in my theory, is that the people that run it aren't necessarily incentivized because it's free to come in and update their shit all the time. So the trade machine is not up to date. I know it's only been like a day since this stuff, but they don't even have like the rookies in from this like draft class at all yet. So this isn't me like shitting on them. It's just me saying like, hey, Fanspo people, we love you guys. Like, can you please come in and update your stuff? Because we'd love to use your website. That'd be really cool. But in this case, we're going to use the Spot Track trade machine. Their numbers probably aren't even completely up to date because they update their stuff kind of in real time, and like these deals aren't technically like official yet. Even the Kuminga one, I'm sure, isn't like completely official at the time of recording it. So we're going to have to get a little bit creative and use our imaginations a little bit with how we kind of do the trades in this video. Spot Track is fine. It's I don't know. It's just not as put together as like Fanspo is. But anyway, trades. Yes, the Kuminga thing. That's certainly a thing. So let's grab his number here. I think it'd be in everyone's best interest if he was just somewhere else, right? I think we can kind of all agree with that. The hard thing. The demand for Kuminga isn't necessarily known now, because here's the thing. Kuminga tried to go out into the market. Nobody wanted to trade for him, right? And yes, he's at a tradable number and he's an expiring contract, but here's the thing, like teams taking on expiring contracts still, I don't know, man. I don't know if they're looking to take on a Jonathan Kuminga and stuff. It's complicated. It's very complicated, but we'll take a look at it nonetheless. I think Moses Moody is another guy you could look at flipping for the right person. Buddy Hield, I'd like to keep if possible, but I'm not opposed to it. Otherwise, like Agi Santos, because he's an expiring deal. Like if someone's just trying to save some money, we could do that, but we can't even take on all that much money, right? We only have $2.5 million, not even $2.5 million in flexibility. So that makes things a little bit more difficult, just a little bit more difficult. But what do we want? It'd be nice if we could add another like kind of point guard-ish player to the team. Primary ball handler is what I'm more so looking for. I'd like a lob big. That's probably not as important, but maybe, just maybe, because we do have one open roster spot too, we can turn Jonathan Kuminga into two players. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. That might actually be beneficial to us, like cap-wise and everything. So let's just see if we can't do that first. So $23-ish million. Here's all the player salaries here, yada, right? What can we find for, like, if we split this up in two, right? Let's just split this up in two. That means about $11.6-ish million we have for, like, each player. Okay, so we'll start it around, like, the 14-ish million and kind of work our way from there, right? Who would be cool players to add? Karis LeVert would be interesting, but I don't think that's going to happen. Corey Kispert, not exactly what we're looking for. Herb Jones would be cool. I don't see any reason why, like, because I immediately think a Jose Alvarado and a Herb Jones for, like, Kuminga and, like, a pick or something like that. That'd be sick. Like, let's say the Pelicans season is just kind of going to shit. Let's just have some fun with this for a second. Let's just say the Pelicans, because there's some big old goofballs over there in New Orleans, and they do kind of goofy ass shit all the time. Maybe why did Utah get selected here? How did this happen? Okay, let's grab, where it's so hard to find the teams on here. I just wish it was a little bit more organized. Anyway. Here we go. Let's turn on trade deadline mode, because that's when a deal like this would have to go down. And we have to sign him, sign and trade. He's getting, how much is his exact contract? 23, 317, 308. 23, 317, 308. There we go. All right, so he's going to New Orleans. New Orleans is sending back Turbo Herbo, which would be awesome. Just ultimate, like, defensive kind of wing. That'd be really cool. And then Jose Alvarado. That'd be pretty sick. The Pelicans can't take him on. That's too much money. They're over by... Oh, gee, why? What? Why did it count it twice? What's going on here? What is going on here? I don't understand. Why is it counting it twice? Plus $28 million. That doesn't make sense. See, this is my thing with Spot Track, man. This is my thing with Spot Track. So, and what's fucking annoying is I can't just go and put rookies like in this one, can I? So we might have to use a little bit more common sense than actually checking to see if it works. Because again, no rookies on this stuff yet, okay? And do they have like the rookies like hidden somewhere else on here that I can use? Nope. So that's really fucking annoying. Okay, let's do some basic math. That's about $17-ish million. They're taking on how much room do the Pelicans have just in like we're gonna have to do the math ourselves with this one because again Spot Track's being stupid. Maybe there's a way to do this better and I just don't know how it works, but again it should be a more intuitive app than what it is. They have apron space. They've got $5 million in space before the first apron. Have they used any exceptions? They might have on Looney. I don't exactly know if they did. Oh no, they've got like $4 million in like tax space even. Okay, so in theory, this type of deal should work, right? Maybe New Orleans has to throw in like something else, like an expiring deal or something like that, like a Carlo. Maybe he has to be included in something. Like, if that's the case, then that's the case. It's not necessarily like a huge deal at all, but maybe something like that has to happen. But I think like functionally this type of move works. And then I think what you do is you ship off one of your other like first round picks, like unprotected or something, because you're getting a Herb, and Herb is just one of the better defenders in the NBA. You send that over to them. Maybe that's something they go for, right? Because it frees up a little bit more cap space or something. Maybe people are injured and the season's just going to shit, because that could happen for New Orleans. I could see that. So I like that as an option. Josh Green is interesting with Charlotte. Charlotte's probably a team that could take on Kuminga as well, couldn't they? So let's do this, because they might want to throw him into their young core. So let's do Charlotte and Golden State now. Take a look at this. Again, I'm not exactly sure like how this works. So if we did sign and trade again, let's just, I forget the actual number again. It's 23, 317, 308. 23, 317, 308. Okay, so he goes over there. Like, what do these things do? Minimum, maximum. It's so weird. Okay, and then who are we taking back? Josh Green would be great. We'll take him as like a 3-and-D wing, because that is all he really does. Again, I don't understand. Like, I think it's just like a display error thing more so than anything else, because it's because it's sign and trade, right? It's not. Yeah, that's right, because this wouldn't be a sign and trade. That's why it's not working. This would be like an actual trade. So it's so annoying. We just don't have something that works. So we just have to be logical with our math more so than everything. We want to take on a guard from them as well, like a Spencer Dinwiddie. Like, could be a fine option here. Like, I wouldn't be mad about that. By the way, can I just like sign him more so? Am I allowed to just like sign him to the team? No? Okay, whatever. It's just being goofy. So instead, we would get like a Spencer Dinwiddie as well. Charlotte should have the tax space to take that on. They've got too many guys on the roster typically at any given point anyway. They don't necessarily need Spencer Dinwiddie. If we took on a Spencer Dinwiddie and like a Josh Green, they'd probably have to give us a pick too or something. Maybe they give us like a couple seconds or something like that. That's an option. That's how we can get a guard and like a wing. How can we get a big on this team? How can we get a big? I'm not touching Robert Williams. The injuries are crazy. Brandon Clark would be cool. He'd be the nice lob threat, good offensive rebounder type of guy. I'd like that. I'm not sure the Grizzlies want Jonathan Kuminga, though. That doesn't necessarily make sense for what they're trying to do. So let's kind of keep looking. Let's keep looking. What bigs are out there? Luke Cornett would be interesting option, but I'm not touching that one at the moment. I think the Spurs are going to want him. Derek Jones Jr. would be cool on this team, but not trying to do that one right now either. Jalen Smith. Interesting. I could see the Bulls doing something with Jonathan Kuminga. They've got a bunch of guys like kind of Jonathan Kuminga at this point, so why not add another one? Yes, like the Vucevic thing was always interesting. I don't think you really need to do a Vucevic one at this point. So instead, what you could do is, again, you send the Kuminga over, which we all know how kind of that math works. It should be like $23-ish million, and the Bulls send back Jalen Smith. Gives you more of a lob threat big that can also step out and hit a shot. That's $9-ish million. Maybe you get an Ayo Dosunmu as well, which would be great. You get kind of a ball handler. You could even take a Javon Carter as well. That equals up to about like $15-ish million. You save a little bit of money here. Bulls get a Jonathan Kuminga. Oh, interesting. You might even get like a little draft pick out of that. Maybe like a little second or something like that. Bulls love to throw a second round pick in at the end of their deals. So those are some of the options I'm seeing. If we're just going for like a single big, I'll always take a look at the Nick Richards route, just because the Suns don't need him at this point. $5 million, run, jump, and dunk, block shots type of big. They need to save some money in doing something like this, and they just don't necessarily need him. The Warriors could kind of help them out with that. Potentially, we can't take on much more money, but we can take on a little bit more money. Maybe we can't, honestly. If we're just taking a look at this, it would be a little bit hard because you'd have to trade like Pods or something, or like Gary Payton. I'm not sure that's worth it necessarily. So depending on how much money we save in like a Kuminga deal, we could maybe turn like a Trace Jackson Davis into a Nick Richards, because it'll help the Suns save just like a little bit more money, cuts his contract in half, get a similar kind of player back. So that's an option for them to do as well. So overall, it's all going to depend on what you kind of do with the Jonathan Kuminga stuff. I deleted too many things there and it fucked up my conditional formatting. But regardless, those are just to get your kind of ideas rolling for what this team could do. I do think some of those Kuminga options are pretty interesting, and you could probably get back 2 decent role players for it if the demand is there for him. Again, I'm not positive the demand is going to be there for him, but with all that being said, let's move on to rotations. Alrighty, rotation, question mark. I always put the question mark here. You guys have heard this spiel before, because, like, I'm not in the practices, I'm not in the training camps. This is just me building a rotation off of the basketball I saw getting played last year. This is no indication of what you do, like, in the playoffs or things like that. Just my ideas, right? These are obviously average minutes on a given night. And then these EPM numbers here are just these EPM numbers, but now weighted by how many minutes people are being played. So, starters. I got Curry, Hield, Butler, Draymond, Al Horford. If you want to put Pods in there because you're like, AVC, I'd rather start fucking Pods, I hate you. Whoa. The hate word is strong, Billy. Relax. I could see it too. You guys heard my opinion. I think you should get Buddy Hield going early in the game. I think that's more beneficial. I think you'll get solid production out of Pods regardless. Look, even if you wanted to split them perfectly down the middle or something, like, fine, do that. I would do it this way. I think Buddy Hield provides a lot of offense for you, and I think that's great. But again, if you like, some games you're going to need Pods a little bit more, some you might need Buddy. So kind of is what it is. I don't have Horford playing like a ton of minutes, right? And I think that's fair to say, right? One, because you got a guy in post that I think you can go to as well. Honestly, I would start him because I think having a little bit more mobility in this starting lineup would be beneficial. I think getting posts used to playing with the starters will be better long term for this team. So that's just my perception of it, but I got them splitting time right now. Do what you will with them. I've got Kuminga playing starter level minutes because, like I said, does he fit what we're doing? No, but he's one of the most talented guys on the team. You got to get him out there. He might check out completely if you don't give him enough minutes, right? So you got to give him some minutes to kind of show his shit, but I'm worried about it a bit regardless. Yep, I got Pods here, and then I got Moses Moody and DeAnthony Melton here. I could see either one of them maybe finding ways to get more minutes at some point, but for the time being, like, I've got people doing what Moses Moody can do for me in other parts of the lineup, and like Melton, he's coming off a big injury. If things are looking like they did last year, I could easily slide him up in this rotation, but for the time being, this is what I got. As far as our reserves go, it's a little bit thin, if I'm being honest. A little bit thin. It's not a bad reserve big, but it's a little bit thin elsewhere. At least you get some shooting out of Seth Curry. So there you go. Then we move on to lineups. This is where I freeball things a little bit more, and I come up with a couple lineups that I'd like to see the team run at certain points in the game for different reasons. First, let's give a Kuminga time, man. Let's at least give it a fucking shot. See if we can't get something out of him. I've got Butler out there. Butler doesn't command as much of the system, though, so he's kind of our bailout guy. I got Buddy Hield spacing the floor around Kuminga because we know his goal is to get to the rim, right? We got Anthony Melton or DeAnthony Melton out there because, look, Kuminga's going to want the ball most of the time. Melton can at least be out there and kind of play some defense on the other guards, and I think that could be valuable, and he can step out and hit. Quentin Post, he's not around the rim anyway. He's on the outside, so there you go. You're getting all the space you want to operate in and a guy to help bail you out if needed. That's your best chance, Kuminga. Just letting you know. Slow down. And by the way, I hope you guys know I'm rooting for this kid like crazy this year. I want to see it go well. I really want to see it go well for him. Slow down. This team can get hot really quick and put up points in an instant. Why? Because they have Steph Curry on the team, right? If you build any type of lead, and we usually build a lineup like this because it's important to have a lineup like this, you get a little bit of a lead in basketball. The way you play basketball chess is by taking away possessions now, right? If you get a bit of a lead, you want to take away possessions because that limits the amount of opportunities a team can come back on you, right? So this is our slow down the pace team a little bit. Still got Steph out there, still got Draymond out there. I've got Melton and Pods out here because I want to be able to switch all of these guys. I want to be able to switch kind of like all of these guys out here so I can really play the bump off defense with Steph. We can slow it down in the half court. I think this could be kind of cool. And then you got to throw the small ball lineup out there, the one they coined. And in this one, I've got Curry, I've got Pods, I've got Moody. This is more so for defensive switching type things. And then I've got Jimmy Butler out there, obviously, with Draymond Green playing the center. You know, you got to get some Draymond at center minutes all the time. But as always, let me know your thoughts kind of on these lineups. What are some rotational ideas that you guys have for things? Let's move on to the standings prediction part of the video. Standings predictions. All right, we're finally here. You guys know how this works. I'm going to click this button and the Warriors are going to appear somewhere in this list, wherever I think they're kind of going to finish the regular season. And some of you might be asking, like, AVC. This isn't even like an annoying thing. I'm just doing this voice anyway. How did you pick this list if you didn't know who the Warriors were going to have for most of the offseason? Well, look, I'm not going to lie. I knew who most of the people were going to be on the roster. And if you had any common sense, you knew who was going to be on this roster as well. It was just the difference of Jonathan Kuminga versus whatever like role player they had brought in. And so I'm like, I don't think that's going to be like a big enough difference to swing my prediction of their standings or whatever in a significant way. So I felt confident enough to do it. But anyway, drum roll, please. Where are the Warriors going to be? Are they going to be a play-in team or are they just going to be a straight-up playoff team? Either way, they're going to be good because the West is tough. Drum roll, please. Ooh, where are the Warriors going to be? Where are they going to be? I got them as a 7. I got them as a 7 seed, but a dangerous 7 seed. Now, look, this team, I want to make it very clear. I could see anybody really 8 and up in the West making a finals run. I really do. I think the NBA is in a really cool spot where there's a lot of balance. Yes, do the Thunder and like the Cavs look like super dominant? Yep, they really do. Like those teams look really, really good. Like obviously the Knicks look good. Like all these teams look really, really good. It would not shock me at all to see the Warriors because look, we've seen them do it before. Just go on a fucking tear in the playoffs or something and end up in the finals. But I do think this team still has some weaknesses. They're still missing like kind of that rim protection on defense. And while I think they have a lot of like nice defensive players, I kind of wonder if they have an elite enough like perimeter defense to kind of make up for that. I still don't know if I completely trust like that all the players fit within the scheme that perfectly, right? And Kuminga maybe holds them back a little bit. Maybe that becomes a problem for them throughout the season. Maybe they can't find a way to trade him. Could be a problem, right? So I got him as a 7. I'm a little bit more confident in the records of some of these other teams up here, but is what it is. But all right, we've only got a couple teams left. We got the Bucks, Celtics, Magic, Rockets, and Timberwolves. Rockets and Timberwolves are going to make up these last 2 teams here in the West. I've got all but one of these videos pre-recorded at this point. I'll finish up my recording. I have another business trip I'm going on like in just a couple hours, honestly, and I'll be back like on Friday of this week. So actually when you're seeing this video, I'll be coming back later that night or whatever. But regardless, I appreciate you guys for watching. Let me know where you think the Warriors are going to finish down below in the comments. I always got a comment, like a pinned comment for you guys to respond to there. But let's move on to the comments of the video. Alrighty, y'all. Comments of the video, because we have a couple of them, are coming from our San Antonio Spurs season preview here. I've got the Enlightened Wemby here. Finally, we had a season preview video like crack 1,000 views. Like that's at least like solid. That's good numbers for this time of the year on my size of channel. So there we go. Yay, people care about the Spurs. Good stuff. No surprise here. First of all, just a lot of very nice comments, like people saying first time on the channel. Oliver Jeffries here, I don't know, saying he really appreciating the effort that goes into these videos. Thank you very much. Just a lot of praise here from like Paul. Liam is always in there giving good ideas for things. My Spurs getting a season preview from Ted Rohe, as always. Like, thanks for your work, AVC. Like, thank you guys for the kind words. That's always nice. I care more so about the basketball conversations, but it's always nice in the world that we live in now, where, let's be honest, there's a lot of hate spread around the world at this point. It's nice to spread positivity when you can, right? We got some French speakers in here. I think that's always kind of cool. No surprise there. We got a lot of people asking questions kind of about, like, hey, how do you think this team's going to work, like, salary cap wise at some point when they have to extend, like, Harper and Bryant? I'm like, whoa, slow down. Wait for these guys to, like, play before you figure out if you have to give these guys max contract extensions at some point. So a lot of great ones. This one really was funny to me. S Gray 91. What if I told you not to respond to this comment? I was like, I would tell you I don't listen to gray slimes. But yeah, no, a lot of great ones. We got some whiny voice ones here from Marcel Leon Neves. How the fuck do y'all come up with these names? Yeah, no, a lot of great comments in this one. So thank you guys. There's some great ideas, great thoughts, very positive. That's what we want the comment section to be, man. And by the way, like, it's fine to ask like questions and things like that. I just don't like when people come in and they're like, AVC, Jonathan Kuminga's the GOAT. Fuck you. And I'm like, okay, wow, who's shitting your fucking cornflakes this morning? But anyway, if you want to have more great basketball conversations, go join our Discord. Link is in the description down below. It's also where you can get access to our spreadsheet here. A reminder, just go join the Discord. It's on the announcements channel. I'm updating this spreadsheet all the time, so just go back whenever you need to get a more up-to-date version. Thank you as always. Like, share, comment, do all that stuff. Let's boost the channel up during a dead point in the year. Looks like somewhat of an upswing in views as of late. That's good. The Jonathan Kuminga stuff will certainly help with that. Hopefully this video does okay when it goes out. But as always, thank you very much. Say hello to your Nana for me, and we'll talk later. Thanks so much, y'all. Bye.